right? So, what we're going to be talking about is why the ruling elites do the things that they do, the control, the lying, the manipulation, the illusions that they're casting over the collective, the psychic warfare that they utilize through the medium of the major industries, music, entertainment, TV, media. And getting right into it, the ruling elites are actually playing a very important role as a divine catalyst for the mass collective consciousness to be able to experience certain aspects of itself that it needs to experience to better know itself. So, a lot of the times, the ruling elites are going to be operating from a narcissistic or a sociopathic in a sociopathic or narcissistic type of way. And this is because they're very unhealed and they're very unintegrated. But even before the physical body and the physical circumstances that kind of mold them to be in that way, on a soul level, they chose to incarnate within a certain bloodline, a certain family, and within certain circumstances that were very likely to mold them in that way. So what I'm saying is this is actually by a higher design, and even though the way that they're operating is not very healthy, and it is the result of not being integrated, it is the result of suppressed trauma. However, that does get utilized in a way which provides this healthy catalyst for the mass collective consciousness. And it also provides a necessary level of restriction that we need to experience to actually better understand ourselves and to have a more tangible human experience, which we are all choosing on a soul level as well to partake in. So, the same way the elites are choosing on a soul level to incarnate in certain circumstances in a certain bloodline, where there's these themes of, probably a lot of times abuse and other things of that nature, programming that they go through that mold them in a certain way. We choose to incarnate here to experience the natural byproduct of what they chose to go through and what's molding them to be, a lot of times very narcissistic and sociopathic in nature. All of this is by design. Now, this doesn't mean that their behavior is appropriate. This doesn't mean that we want to be anything like them. It doesn't mean that there's not some type of negative cause and effect that they experience as a result of their behavior. So there is a negative cause and effect. And as we awaken more, that cause and effect will actually manifest quicker for them. And that's also a theme that on a deeper soul level, before they even incarnate in the physical body, that they're choosing to experience as well. Now, I do think a lot of the ruling elites, they have connections to darker extraterrestrial beings. And, it's very much a part of, we could even say, their genetics. And it's something that kind of runs through them to be in this position of dominance. But because that, we could say, conscious connection or consciousness connection is much better to say, because I don't think a lot of them are fully conscious of this, and some of them probably are. But to the ones that aren't, that consciousness connection within them, because they haven't integrated that in a healthy way, this puts them in the position of, being manipulative or, being a sociopath, being very narcissistic in nature, just like when you see people on the left-hand path and, a lot of them are using the titles of like black magician and stuff like that, and they're working with these darker extraterrestrial forces. A lot of them are trying to control others. A lot of them are trying to dominate other people because they're not integrated and they haven't integrated a lot of their shadow aspects. So, just a parallel that I'm drawing here. Now, I want to make it clear that when I say darker extraterrestrial entity, that does not mean bad and that does not mean evil, but it does mean more so an association with the primordial or even primal, qualities of consciousness. And when a person has a deeper connection to that, maybe they're conscious of it, maybe some people aren't, but regardless, when that connection is there, but it's not integrated, it can absolutely turn into like very predatory, very sociopathic behavior.